It was a crisp autumn afternoon when I first heard about the cemetery witch. The locals spoke of her in hushed tones, their voices filled with a mix of fear and fascination. They claimed she was a woman of immense power, living alone in a small, decrepit cottage at the edge of the cemetery. Some said she could speak to the dead, while others believed she could control the very elements themselves. As a curious journalist, I couldn't resist the allure of such a mysterious tale. Armed with my notepad and camera, I set out to uncover the truth behind the legend of the cemetery witch. The cemetery was an ancient place, its tombstones weathered by time and its pathways overgrown with ivy. As I approached the edge of the graveyard, the atmosphere grew heavy with an eerie stillness. The trees seemed to whisper secrets of the past, and the wind carried a mournful wail. The cottage stood at the edge of the cemetery, a ramshackle structure with a sagging roof and boarded-up windows. The air around it seemed to vibrate with an otherworldly energy, and I felt a shiver run down my spine as I approached the front door. I knocked, and the door creaked open with a haunting groan. Inside, the cottage was dimly lit, the air heavy with the scent of dried herbs and ancient tomes. I found her sitting by a small, flickering candle, a woman with long gray hair and eyes that seemed to pierce my soul. She introduced herself as Elara, the cemetery witch. Her voice was soft and melodic, a stark contrast to the eerie reputation that preceded her. She spoke of her connection to the cemetery, of the spirits that had guided her for as long as she could remember. Elara claimed that she could communicate with the souls of the departed, offering them solace and companionship in the afterlife. She told me stories of lost loves and unresolved conflicts, of spirits searching for closure and forgiveness. Her words were both haunting and mesmerizing, and I found myself drawn into her world. As the days turned into weeks, I became a frequent visitor to Elara's cottage. She shared her knowledge of ancient rituals and herbal remedies, her wisdom passed down through generations of women in her family. She could predict the weather with uncanny accuracy and seemed to have an innate understanding of the natural world. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the cemetery cast long, eerie shadows, Elara invited me to witness her powers firsthand. She led me to a forgotten grave where a crumbling headstone marked the resting place of a young woman who had died tragically in a fire. With a solemn expression, Elara closed her eyes and began to chant. The air grew charged with energy, and I felt a presence surrounding us, a spectral figure of the young woman, her form translucent and ethereal. She spoke of her desire for closure, her longing to reunite with her family in the afterlife. Elara's words seemed to bridge the gap between the living and the dead. She offered the young woman comfort and guidance, promising to help her find peace. As the ritual concluded, the spectral figure faded, leaving behind a sense of serenity that hung in the air. Over time, I witnessed more of Elara's extraordinary abilities. She could heal ailments with her herbal remedies and predict events that seemed impossible to foresee. The cemetery, once a place of fear, had become a sanctuary where the living and the dead coexisted in harmony. But with every gift came a burden, and Elara bore the weight of her powers with grace and humility. She had sacrificed a normal life for her connection to the cemetery, living in solitude to protect the secrets of the spirits she communicated with. As I left Elara's cottage that final day, I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of awe and respect for the cemetery witch. Her story was one of mystery and magic, a testament to the unexplained forces that shape our world. I knew that I had been privileged to witness something extraordinary, and I left the cemetery with a newfound appreciation for the mysteries that lay hidden within the world's oldest places, the places where the living and the dead meet, and where legends like that of the cemetery witch are born.